Day afternoons from 1 on Talk Radio.
There's a lot to wade through here. We're going to go back to your calls shortly, as we always like to do, a couple of times a week, a bit of an extended chat with one of our favoured guests, Jason Vale. He's known as the Juice Master, but of course Jason has many views outside of his own world of healthy juicing and staying fit. Jason, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yes, I do have many views on other stuff that I maybe should keep quiet about. Or several people on Twitter often say to me that I should keep very quiet about, but they're all related to health, which is what a great deal of them don't seem to understand. I've been in the health business for over 25 years, and I've never seen such a radical change in people's health, if you will, what they, if there is a they out there, what they are fundamentally doing to the health of the nation in the guise that they are improving the health of the nation, and now they're picking on kids, and that's what the main focus I want to talk about. It's hard to sit back. I could have not joined you today. There's a million things I can do here. I'm by the beach. This doesn't really improve my my career in any way. But somebody genuinely, Ian, needs to, and there's a few that are doing it. But there comes a point where you have to surely speak up for the children, especially, look, anybody who disagrees with this, it's baffling to me. I sit around, I talk to some people, and every now and then I get somebody who doesn't agree. And I feel like the guy in the film Midnight Express, where everyone's walking around the totem pole and he's walking
going the other way. Yeah.
And I feel like that. How you've got the JVCI twice recommended that vaccines are not given to 12. Then they say, okay. All right, well, we'll just check with the CMO. Well, it's interesting they did that then. They checked with the CMO, but with the booster shots yesterday, weirdly, they didn't do that. The JVCI said to them yesterday, yeah, booster shots are a good idea. So they went, yeah, we'll take your advice this time without checking in. Interesting how they managed to do that. We're talking, Ian, about 12, we're talking children here, 12-year-old children, healthy. 12-year-old children. There has been very few. I mean, very, very few. We're talking about hit by lightning ratio children, healthy children that have actually died through COVID. I don't understand. There's no argument. I've spoke to loads. I want to find an argument for it. I don't get it. And when they say for the first time ever, they are now looking at the wider issues, the wider impact on the mental health of children. When I heard Chris Whitty say that, and then at the same token, say to somebody like Nicki Minaj, that effectively it's shameful what she said. But at the same time, he's going to inject healthy people with a relatively new vaccine, even though they said, well, look, some of the ingredients were around from SARS-2, but, we've just added some other things together and we've done this. But it's still fundamentally on trial till 2023. Even though it's been approved by the FDA, there are some parts of it that are on trial till 2023. Why would you inject? I don't understand. Why would you inject a perfectly healthy child? And they say for mental health, as if they didn't close the schools down. No one else did it. You did it. So now you're saying, well, to save any disruption at schools that you caused, that you are in control over entirely. No one else is in control of it. There is no reason on earth to have ever closed the schools in the first place. None. Zero. But now they're deciding to use this as a threat to say we're going to close schools now, but we don't have to, providing we jab all these kids. And you think it's going to stop at 12? No, it's going to. If they're using it for the wider good, well, why didn't they do that with lockdowns? Because for the wider good, the collateral damage of lockdowns far outweighs any health benefits, even from the actual virus itself. People say, what would have done? The vulnerable protected them. The vulnerable and everybody else crack on. Get herd immunity, do what you need to do. But as soon as that was mentioned in March in 2020, everybody went mad. And now we're in this. You mentioned any of this last year, you just got attacked. I still get attacked every now and then now, but more and more people, I think, are opening their mind to go, you're now picking on kids. Yeah. And if you're gonna do this with kids, by the way, you're not going to save any time. I think it's 4 days. I think they said out of school time. That's even going on their silly stats that you can make stats out about anything to make it look whatever you want it to do. Those 4 days, by the way, each pupil now, it's every single one. Well, not everyone, because they say it's the parent's decision. But yet they're going to get, please, trust me, it won't end up being the parent's decision, right? So anyway, but let's just say at the moment it's the parent's decision, and most parents, for whatever reason, want their child to get vaccinated, let's just say. Each child, roughly, how long? Walking down the corridor, getting the injection. They need 15 minutes rest afterwards. It's half an hour per child. How's that going to improve the mental health of a child or improve lost school time. You are going to have so much lost school time.
And of course, what is confusing, Jason, you've pretty much articulated this anyway, is that our cynicism is, and your cynicism is based on the government's own information. It's not like we're making something up here. Chris Whitty told us at the beginning, most people only ever get a mild dose of this anyway. It was implicit in just about everything that was said throughout, that this isn't something that we're looking at doing with kids when it comes to vaccinations. And as you say, the JCVI also said, we can't really find the evidence that we need to do this. So based on their own advice around them, not invented, not conspiratorial, the advice that comes from very high-ranking, well-paid people. And yet here we are still with the green light given for vaccinations for 12-year-olds.
And I just don't understand how anybody's okay with it. I genuinely don't. I feel like I'm living in a parallel universe. I really do. I just sometimes want to bang my head against the wall thinking, how is everybody okay? And even then you've got people at home with children going, well, if the CMO said, yeah, but you didn't want to listen to the JVCI. And in fairness to them, they don't know who to listen to. And most of them, but bear in mind, for a whole year, even longer, they've gone, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lock you in your box at home. We're not going to allow you out, pretty much. We're going to feed you whatever we want to feed you via the other box. You're living in a box. There's another box we're going to feed you tons of stuff in. You're not allowed to have any critical thought, because if you did, we will immediately call you a conspiracy theorist or anti-vaxxer. I think this is the only time in history where you happen to be hesitant for valid reasons about this particular brand new gene-based therapy vax, if you want to call it that. But yet you can have had every other vaccination and have no issue with any other vaccination. But yet you're still anti-vax. And you want to say, how though? Just because you say it doesn't make it true. Yeah. And what they've done very cleverly, and I'm not even blaming the people that are fighting each other, it's divide and conquer, as corny as that is. That's what they do. All of a sudden Brexit was over, there was that, and then it's like, oh, we're not fighting about that anymore. Okay, now we need to fight about something new. And tomorrow morning it'll be about global change. And it'll be about global warming. Everyone's going to be fighting about that. And fundamentally, as they say, keep people in fear. And I think the biggest irony with all of this, there's a health crisis. I think that's what they call it. There's always a health crisis.
Yep.
You look every single year, there's a health crisis. You go back to 1993, front page of the Mirror. There was somebody on a trolley sleeping in the corridor. That made front page headlines in 1993. Saying we're over capacity, over this, over that. Nightingale's hospitals that were barely used, are they still knocking around? I have no idea. People don't, even think about that stuff. At the beginning, don't touch anything. And then no one wore a mask for 3-4 months. And then all of a sudden you must wear a mask. And all of a sudden it's like the virus knows if you're with 6 people or with 8 people. Where's this science on it? I think when it comes to health, I haven't seen one health secretary so far. And there's been 2 of them. Right, during this, but I haven't seen either of them talk about health. And it's extraordinary.
When we first spoke a couple of months back, Jason, and we'll take a short pause and we'll come back to this. I remember that was the area that you were scratching your head over, and you articulated it brilliantly. And we'll get your take again on that in a moment, because you're absolutely right. In a health crisis, where was the conversation, what should have been relentless conversations about health? They were nowhere to be seen. But we'll come back to that. We'll also come back to the fruit and veg issue, Jason's latest juicing initiative as well. All of this stuff coming up. Jason Vale. We love having Jason Vale on with us, and we'll be back with him in a few moments. And the reason we do, of course, is because not only does he have brilliant qualified views on getting healthy, juicing stuff, that's his world, written several books on it, award-winning, best-selling author on juicing it up and all the rest of it. But it's the other stuff, because it does kind of feed into it. And that, to me, is the compelling side of Jason Vale. I love the health stuff. I love the juicing stuff. I follow a lot of his recipes. But his other views, too. Disagree with him all you like, but they're passionate. And he's back with more in a few moments' time. 0344 499 1000. 20 minutes after 3, there's a lot of love for our guest, Jason Vale, who we have with us. Jason, you will know, best-selling author, multi-award-winning author of books really about health, Jason. I mean, that's where it all kicked off, isn't it? You were an unhealthy character and thought, I've got to put this right.
Yeah, and I thought it was my responsibility, and I think this is where we've lost our way when it comes to personal health. I was covered from head to foot in psoriasis. I was incredibly overweight. I was badly asthmatic, taking my pump 14, 16 times a day. I was a heavy smoker. I smoked 40 to 60 cigarettes a day. I didn't just drink a little bit of alcohol. I would walk down the street in Peckham drinking Special Brew and Tennent's. People knew what that was. From a one-parent family, Peckham, North Peckham Estate, and it started with my mum, who had the cyst the size of an orange on one of her ovaries. She went into King's College Hospital. She went in for an operation. They took out the wrong ovary. Now, that just started my thing on health. That just means they had a bad day at the office. I'm not mad with the hospital or the doctor or the surgeon in charge. Everybody else gets the luxury, if you will, of having a bad day at the office. Unfortunately, anybody care workers in that environment, they don't. But it started, my mum was really into natural nutrition. I wasn't. As you can tell, I was the other way.
Yeah.
And she said, look, what you put into your body really matters. This isn't just a slight thing. This really changes everything. So I started to look into it, but I hated vegetables, hated them. But I could drink them, but I couldn't eat them. But juicing wasn't even a thing. So that's how I got into juicing really quick. And then I started that, for me personally, I had a good relationship with nature. Nature decided that actually I was a good candidate for healing. Not everybody is, and so that's how it is. It's like Jason meets nature, nature meets Jason. Hope you guys get on. And that's what we do. That's what I do in my books and everything else. We don't know what's going to happen. But when you think that when you eat fruits and vegetables mainly, or whatever the case is, live, they are natural anti-inflammatories. When you think that most dis-ease, where the body is at dis-ease with itself, comes from inflammation, well, it doesn't take rocket science to think that most lifestyle diseases probably can benefit if you change your lifestyle. Seems obvious. Now, what I find astonishing, when you think, and no one wants to talk about the elephant in the room, but I don't mind. And I really don't mind, because it's got to the point where it's affecting everybody now, and everybody's buying into this nonsense. 77%, this is in the British Medical Journal, not a conspiracy theory, British Medical Journal, 77% during, I think it was March 2020 to March 2021, 77% of people that were hospitalized or unfortunately passed away with COVID, not necessarily of COVID. That's going to come up. It's starting to come up already, but let's leave that to one side, because that might remain a conspiracy already, but those figures are changing. But even by those figures that they've currently got, 77% were overweight, significantly overweight or obese. And they thought it was a good idea to lock everybody in their homes, restrict their exercise, and make sure they had access to Uber Eats and Just Eat and everything else. Isn't it? It's an astonishing time of human development. It's not development at all. The one thing that can change all of that is to get the host. Your host. How strong is a virus? Louis Pasteur said the germ is nothing, the terrain is everything. There's always going to be odd examples where people say, well, I know somebody who in their 30s. It's rare. That's why you're talking about them. Because it's rare. The average age, I believe, is still 84. Could be 83, right? The average age, but no one talk about that. 97% survival rate across the board, including all of the vulnerable. You remove the vulnerable, Ian, it's 99.99% survival rate. Has there ever been a disproportionate response to anything in history? I mean, genuinely, I know I feel, but if you break it down and look at the facts, and nobody does. Matt Hancock even said, I modeled imagine this is your health secretary, this is the government making decisions. I modeled my approach, he said this, to the virus after watching Contagion, the movie.
Yeah, I remember those words.
Now, Contagion, the movie, if those that don't know, with Matt Damon, when you came into contact with anybody with it, you pretty much died. That isn't what's going on. I know people want to, if you watch the news, it is, but we're not walking down the street treading. There's been some horrific stuff going on. It does every year. Cancer kills this. The collateral damage from this, how many people are on the cancer waiting list? People don't talk, we're on the one disease nation now, right? One disease world. So we've forgotten about all the cancers. We've forgotten about children's mental health. By the way, it was adults or the government that took away. Teenagers have 4 adult years, right? 4 adult teenage years, right? That's it, 4. 4 to be a teenager, an adult teenager. I've got 4 of them. We've taken 2 of them away. We happy with that? I'm not.
Yeah.
For what? For a virus that would never have killed them. Plus we locked them indoors. Plus, we took away their things. Plus, I saw in Australia, I think there was a skate park, and they did something on that. The kids were in school. They were in pointless masks. We know they're freaking pointless. They're all theatre. They do all that, don't they? At the G7, and they're going to have a party and think we're all thick, right? And this is what goes on. But they know that a majority aren't. They just go, oh, yes, well, that's right. What the government says is right. And they can't see the wood for the trees. What about the domestic violence? What about the trafficking? What about, I mean, you can just go, the business is lost. What about the suicides that have gone on? How come these figures aren't projected every single evening on the news?
By the way, go on, Jason.
Sorry, just this final point. I'm not picking on you, Ian, but I'm picking on people like Piers Morgan.
I get it.
And I know Morgan's coming to join you guys, and I don't keep. He's into free speech, so listen to this, Piers. So when Piers started this whole thing in 2020, and he was yelling at Boris Johnson, Boris wasn't even going to lock down at first. He was going to do the Swedish model. And he mentioned even on This Morning about herd immunity, and there was the uproar. And then Piers was going, you must shut down, you must shut down, you must shut down. Why? Because it benefits him greatly. Anybody who make rules that benefits themselves, you've got to watch out for. Why does it benefit him? Did he lose his job? No. Was he on the 14th floor of a council house in Peckham or in Brixton where they locked the park and he couldn't go out? Was he married with someone who just lost his job and maybe he's had domestic violence? Did he have 4 children at home that he had to homeschool? No. He was going on a holiday while he was still in a job. In fact, viewing figures went through the roof. Of course they do, because if it bleeds, it leads. And it's just, it's all coming out now. I'm sorry, Ian.
No, not at all. I mean, the passion is great. And as you rightly said, Jason, and despite all of that and a health crisis, there was very little information on, I mean, yeah, you could go out for 45 minutes, whatever it was, and have a little walk. But you would think if ever there was going to be a time when we would recalibrate what we thought about diets, what we thought about what makes us healthy, what we thought about helping our immune system, this would have been the golden opportunity to sing from the rafters on this one.
But I tell you how serious this virus is, right? Let's bear this in point.
We've got about 30 seconds, Jason, just to warn you.
So what they would do is if you had to isolate, whatever, they would just check that you're at your home. They don't care how you are. It's meant to be the most deadliest virus on earth. They're not checking, well, how are you every day? Are you still okay? No. Or give you a diet sheet. Imagine that. To turn your immune system around. Well, your immune system, but to support it. I mean, come on, we need a change, a real change in our thinking when it comes to this. And vaccine passports aren't that, and we'll talk about that next time.
Indeed, we will. Final point. You're doing something Monday about juicing.
Yeah, we're throwing down the gauntlet. Juicing for 7 days. It's Juice and Blend, 7 days. It's part of the new book. Everybody joins in. There's like 50,000 people from around the world join in. It's a 7-day reset. Come on, it's all on juicemaster.com. Have a look at it. Come and join in. I'll be doing some videos and just wanting to see if you want to. But 7 days on nothing but anti-inflammatory fruits and vegetables in a liquid form. Instead of knocking it first, do it, come out the other side, then you feel fine. People knock juicing, but they don't seem to knock staying indoors, eating rubbish, and putting a vaccine in children. Friggin' astounds me.
Give us that website again, Jason.
Juicemaster.com.
Juicemaster.com is where you will find further details on that. Listen, it's always great to have Jason Vale on. You can agree with every word, and there's a lot of love for Jason. You can think the guy is talking absolute pony. I mean, he just made the same point about Piers Morgan, didn't he? Free speech, you see. That's what it's about. Challenge it, disagree with it, put your thumbs up to it, whatever you like. There's Jason Vale's very articulate and very intelligent take on where we've been over the last 18 months, and he's not a happy man. We're going to be back with your calls on Talk Radio in a couple of moments' time. 3:30, news headlines.